Welcome travelers from the winding trails. Grab a spot by the hearth and a pint of ale. A brief respite from our noble quest. Lean back in a chair for the Song of Rest. Hello travelers, and welcome to the Song of Rest, a place where our heroes and the deities that guide them gather to share a behind the scenes and behind the screens look at the unfolding adventures in Archipeldia. Gathered before us is the Dungeon Master, Aaron Rollins, and his band of players, Dustin Bleschmidt, Janelle Wilkie, and Chad Stafford. But I'll let them do the talking, and I'll get back to playing. Oh, hey ho, we'll go anywhere the wind is blowing.
Manly men are we.
Sailing for adventure on the big blue wet thing.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Muppet Treasure Island now?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh, it's a bunch of animals on a boat, so I guess so.
That's what I'm saying.
We're
Halfway there. We've got a dragon man, dog people, a bird.
A bird guy,
Yeah, we're halfway to the cast.
a cat Thulu.
Now we just need we need the eat shit rats to come aboard and like have their own B story.
Yes.
Eat shit.
And we're there, man. We're sailing on the open seas, Muppet Treasure Island style.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Rats do find their way onto ships, you know.
So am I Jimbo or Long John Silver, you think?
Ooh.
As like the only human.
You have characteristics of both?
Maybe I'm Silver because he has his little parrot friend and then Brandy.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that make me like, I don't know, Gonzo or something? Because I like Gonzo, and I'd be okay with that.
No, you're Rolf, dude.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm definitely Rolf, too, right? Rolf kind of talks like this, doesn't he? He's like one octave higher or lower than Dr. Teeth.
So a little behind the scenes, Aaron originally designed this battle to go at the end of the previous episode.
Hey, a prepared DM is a good DM.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it is good.
Well, you mentioned something, Aaron, that was really funny. And like being a relatively new DM when we do our Star Wars game, you write out all this content and you're like, yeah, this will take maybe an hour or two. But then somehow the players focus on like this one sentence worth of your preparation. And that becomes the entirety of the campaign. In Star Wars, y'all stopped at basically a space gas station. And that was the entire session of the game. Just the players, including Aaron and Dustin here, just trying to find out the best way to screw over this gas station attendant. How much can they steal from them?
That remark 100%.
Okay, Malarkey didn't do anything.
I was the only one that was like, I don't have any concept of money. Can we just go?
oh yeah, I think it was Malarkey and Nava
it was
Malarkey.
the Jedi, the allegedly good person that was trying to steal everything from the Circle K space station.
Yeah, I think I was trying to scam the guy out of his droids too.
You were.
Yeah.
I think that was
were.
freshly after your two, speaking of Muppets, Muppet-themed droids bit the dust because they went up against a Rancor and literally were destroyed in one hit. And I felt
Janelle,
so bad.
you have to.
So
okay,
bad.
so I'm not sure, Janelle, how much you've heard about that game, and I know we're totally off topic from our own game that's going on here, but so my character Garrett Vox he's not a Jedi, but he's force sensitive and he's a droid mechanic, and he is what's his race again? I forget.
He's a Duros.
Duros, yes.
Yeah.
And so, my name is Garrett Vox, and I work on droids.
So he had
Yeah, he's
he had
fucking
two
Kermit.
He had two droids that were the old guys, the critics from the Muppet Show.
My gosh.
They would float around and shoot lasers and go.
Yes.
Statler and Waldorf?
Waldorf. Yeah, Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah.
That's right.
True synergy, bringing up the Muppets here and there.
But I just brought it up because like it's funny because we're on a podcast setting and you really never know what your players are going to focus on. And normally it doesn't matter. You guys go for 4 hours, you go the whole dang day, as long as all of your players are down for it and have nothing planned. It's fine. But when you're in a podcast setting, we're like, we're at the 2.5 hour mark. We need to wrap this up.
Yeah, and that has become a whole meme, I think, of the DM's intent of the focus of the players, and then on the other side, the players caring about the insignificant comment the DM just made. Like simple things like, I had no idea it would take as long as it took for you guys to get across that river, but that ended up basically being the whole episode.
Hey, that's still one of my favorite episodes, though, because of that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the hijinks you don't expect that really make the magic happen.
Hey, we have redeemed ourselves. We screwed up crossing a lake. We screwed up crossing a creek. And we are on the open seas and doing just fine.
And we just won a sea battle. Yeah.
All right, let it also be in the record book that a ship has survived the Kraken.
Yes.
Yes.
The ship has survived. And it was a prophecy at the end of last episode. Sherman was gonna jump off the back of that ship.
I freaking knew it. You got your wish.
I got my wish.
Totally got it.
Chad tried to stop it from happening by holding the Shermie snack over your head, but then you still found a way to make it happen.
I didn't find a way to make it happen. Fate lined up, and it was the only thing that felt right. It was like, think of this way from Sherman's perspective. He just missed every attack. He got hit really bad in front of his really cool friend that he hasn't seen in a long time.
That's what Sherman, yeah.
And
Wink.
then she comes in, and don't get me wrong, this is awesome. Strong Dustin fully supports the strong women characters. But just from Sherman's perspective of I gotta do something really cool to show her that I'm still cool and not a dork wagon.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, you and Bernice were in foster together, so you have to show that you've also improved yourself. And yeah, you haven't just been slacking off this whole time.
I am so curious how Bernice will react after that too. Will she be like, "You idiot, you almost died," or will she be really proud?
I know exactly how she'll react. She'll react like this.
Yep. Maybe chime idiot to the rest of the crew.
It's really cool because with how these apostleship members having to take a vow of silence because their voice is essentially a weapon. I just imagine the super bark from Bolt, just she's flying down at this thing and just woof, woof, woof.
Yeah, because she's a dog folk.
Super bark.
Oh my god, that reminds me, I gotta send y'all a TikTok that's exactly that. It's exactly that scenario. You don't have to watch it right now, obviously, but it's basically a robber. It's a guy who does impressions of what other dogs are like. And so it's a robber breaking into a house, and then it cuts to what the dog's doing. And the husky just turns around and stares and just goes,
Speaking of impression,
to y'all.
Speaking of impression, Chad, we finally got to see Timothy use his vocal impressions.
Yeah, they have mimicry.
That was amazing.
And that was one of the main reasons I picked being a Kenku. Because I thought, what would be fun? A bard that can only do cover songs. And his wish is to do his own music. But when we finally had the opportunity to do that, wow, what fun. I really thought Aaron was going to be like, no, absolutely not, you crazy people. But we finally got to do something silly with shape-shifting and vocal masking. With,
DMing and having lots of things in play, there's sometimes that you can't argue with what the players come up with as being a viable option. And like, I mean, I'll say right ahead that you guys know it's very possible. It would have been very possible for the Fracken to catch up to the ship.
I don't even want to think about what that fight would have been like if we were battling, Sir Lunox's ship, the Fracken, and then those, the demon hounds were released at the same time. Like, we would not have walked away from that as unscathed. Because the ship only took 20-ish points of damage altogether?
It like 10% of its health. Like, that was it. I mean, so you guys couldn't have gotten out of there cleaner than you did. But when you guys pulled that off, I was just like, I'm searching in my brain as to how this would actually affect the Fracken, because it's not a super smart creature, and it did take commands from Laminaria. So I was like, holy shit, this is genius, and I'm not prepared. Fuck.
You don't have any reason not to have it kind of balk at that.
Yeah, it was like it's still thinking it's supposed to do what it's been told to do, but it's like master, or perhaps former master, is telling it not to. So it kind of gets cleared up when Lunox sees through the deception, and he then kind of puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that the only reason this ship is escaping the Fracken is because they've tricked it, so, which only makes him even more angry. But it was just a slick move on you guys' part. And I really love any time that you can implement Timothy's mimic voice as to your advantage.
That fight could have turned out so differently, I think, if we also tricked Sir Lunox.
Oh, yeah.
Get them to fight each other.
I was running through scenarios in my head where maybe Flowerkraut would even wind up having to go on the ship with him or something. Like, oh, God. I was just like, okay, this could go a very certain way where Flowerkraut might have to keep up a ruse or something.
This is also a fantastic example of D&D successes and victories that aren't necessarily out of combat. I mean, everyone, when you think of Dungeons and Dragons, you're going into a dungeon, you're beating the crap out of things, you're getting the treasure. This is like you're succeeding with, I mean, like the hounds aside, because those things, were the final phase essentially of this encounter. But you guys never even, the Fracken never caught up. I have a whole list of mechanics that happens when that moment came, and it never did. And I was like, wow.
I mean, not to give you ideas, my dude, but there's a lot of open sea, and we didn't defeat it. So it's absolutely. I'm not gonna call it out, but it's gonna come up again. Like we have not seen the last of the Fracken. We still need the penultimate fight of the Fracken versus Brandon.
I would credit the escape to the Face Child song that you played, because you were able to prevent it from closing the distance on one of those rolls, I think. And so at one point it got pretty close. It got down to like 2 units behind you guys, but that was awesome. And bravo again, Chad, for turning Faechild into a chantey, because holy crap.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That was fun.
And then the 2d20 roll for that hard bank.
Miriam was definitely on our side.
Absolutely. 2 d20s on a disadvantage roll. So, want to talk about fan art from this episode?
Oh yeah, our fan art moment.
So, speaking of fan art, I have currently a headcanon of what I think Sir Lunox looks like, even though I don't know what he looks like. Does anybody remember, and some people will say yes, I know it's kind of a blasphemous movie, but my wife likes it, the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie?
No, I've never seen it.
I saw it, but I can't pull from my memory the character you're talking about.
Okay, so there's a character named Damodar, and he's like the like brutish villain.
Was he the one with like the bluish lips and like the black and red armor?
Yes, that is 100% him.
I have a very dusty memory box, and that's what I pulled from.
So I'm gonna throw this in the Discord for y'all to take a look at. But this is we can also throw this photo up when we drop this episode. But that's what I believe he looks like under the helmet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was Jeremy Irons in that movie too?
Yeah, he's the main villain.
Yeah, he's
Oh
the
my
main villain.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Which poor Jeremy Irons getting put into franchises that die immediately, like Dungeons and Dragons and Aragon.
Yeah. Poor Jeremy
But
Irons.
yeah, for anybody trying to do fan art of what Sir Lunok looks like under the helmet, that is my current headcanon. We officially don't know what he looks like.
It's a good comparison, I think.
I'm assuming he's an Aasimar with a name like Lunox, but who am I to tell?
Ooh. Yeah, Dustin, what's your fan art moment?
My well, there are two really cool things, obviously.
Okay.
And I mean, it's a little biased because they both happened to Sherman.
No, it's cool.
But the water wrestling with the dog and then flinging them into the rock, but then also
and having his limb left over in your hand.
yeah, that, but also just being completely flustered and nervous around Bernice and like just completely like being terrible. As bad as that was, narratively it makes sense.
How about you, Janelle? What's your fan art moment?
Oh shoot. Maybe it's like 4 flower crowds like panicking while Brandy's attacking all of them.
I'll throw this into the mix too. When the one dog is surrounded by 3 flower krauts and the two apostles.
Was it 4 apostles?
It was 2.
It was 2,
Because
okay.
there was 2 on each of the dogs remaining.
And then,
oh my gosh,
just stomping an absolute mud hole into this dog monster. And seeing like the fan art though is like seeing how because that was where you fully described like how their voice impacts their monk abilities, and so that they're using those force strikes as opposed to like any actual connection, and what that would look like I think would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree.
I think my fan art moment is, and it's not even an accurate envision of what was actually there, but I just imagine Sherman hanging from the back of the ship, completely wrapped in rope, like his arms aren't even free, but the bucket's hanging from his mouth, and he's just like dangling there like, oh, Firecracker, I didn't use my arms for this. Like she just tied such a good knot. Janelle on the Nat 20s tonight. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Nat 20s when we needed them. And Nat 20s when technically we really didn't, but they were okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good day.
What about you, Chad?
Chadarino.
Yes.
What is your fan art moment?
That's tough. There was a lot of really good moments in this episode, but if I had to pick one, just because I'm imagining fan art static image, it would be Flowerkraut and Timothy putting on this stage play. This wicked style stage play where like there's a rigging department and like makeshift lights, like people are casting cantrips to make the lighting look good, and they're using like sail knots, and Flowerkraut's suspended from the mast, and they're doing this performance, and like Timothy has like a stage mic around his head with like a mage hand spectral like amp. And they're doing this little performance, I think is my fan art moment.
That's great.
I just love that you came up with that idea. That was really awesome.
That was so smart, because I wouldn't have even thought of that like in a million years.
I have a feeling that that's only the beginning of the Flowerkraut disguise self Timothy mimic voice combo, because
yeah,
just think of the possibilities.
We'll get up.
Aaron,
we'll get up to some
we'll
trouble.
factor that in.
Yeah.
Aaron's gonna.
Well, and also think about it this way. Maybe the only reason why Lunox didn't fall for it was because your voice wasn't as convincing as Timothy's to the Fracken.
Oh yeah, that was like an advantage play, huh? So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just glad the Faechild song ended up working out, because I felt bad not casting it on you guys.
Shanty version,
but
yeah,
I think it worked out. Giving it to the NPCs, because I was just so worried we were going to end up in a fight with the Fracken.
That was a great move. And also your impromptu sea shanty version was chef's kiss.
Rory!
Yes.
Rory!
Rory! Hey, Rory! Can you make a sea shanty version of Faechild, please?
Love you!
No, that was a good move on your part, because part of that whole encounter was balancing how fast the ship was going versus keeping everything off the ship, And in a situation where the Fracken had caught up, it would have been a battle of keeping the ship moving, but also trying to get its tentacles off the ship, because it was only going to be damaging the ship further and all that stuff, but that never was the case. So giving them that advantage from the get-go, giving them the Faechild song, you guys were able to basically just fly away.
Quick question for you, because I was curious when this was going to happen, because I'm always like, in a supporting role, at least that's what I kind of envision Timothy as in that supporting role, which is why I try to come up with like clever solutions when I don't really have anything that can do physical damage. Is like always judging, like, is it going to be more beneficial to do Bless on everybody, or is it going to be more beneficial to do Bane on our enemies? If the Fracken were to have caught up with us, would she have been counted as a singular entity to which you would spell cast on, or would like each tentacle kind of be like its own mini, like
video game style?
Yeah, not to go back to Star Wars, but when you guys had to basically fight the trash compactor monster, I had each of the tentacles kind of be its own HP. Would it kind of been that scenario where we had to have dealt with them individually?
No, the Fracken would have been a single target.
Gotcha.
So like all of its attacks would have been baned.
Oh wow.
I mean, it's still limited to how many tentacle like actions it can make in a turn. It can't just do all like 8 at the same time. But yeah, that it just would have been 1. So
wow.
Heck, if you had dogs on the ship and the Fracken, you could have baned dogs and the Fracken.
And that's probably what we would have opted for if that was happening.
Yeah.
Is there any talents or skills that allow you to cast more than just one concentration spell?
There are some magical items where you can cast a spell through the item.
Ooh.
And it basically holds its own concentration. But it really is situational, and it might be like it can cast this specific spell, or it might be a different type of thing where you can do too. It's just what you use to channel.
I would love to find an enchanted guitar pick then.
Almost
Chad, it always
a pick of destiny, if you will.
Chad, it always cracks me up when you bring up that you are the supportive guy, but once again, you did more damage than me and Sherman did.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this battle.
Technically, I did no damage. The Rock did the work.
Flowerkraut did her worst fart ever on this boat.
It was like a little fear toot. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It's like it's
tiny
a
balloon.
Did not escape the cheeks.
It's a callback to when Timothy went up that cliff and kicked the centipede off and beat the crap out of this. He's like, I'm a support character. Now eat this.
I'm being supportive.
Nearly killed one of those beefy centipedes all on his own.
Yep.
I know this is probably something you don't want to give away. and we shouldn't level up too quickly, but are we close to leveling up anytime soon?
You guys are approaching it.
Yay.
It's funny because it feels like it's been a long time since you guys leveled up, but you guys literally leveled when you got to the Feywild.
This is true.
And so there's, only been how many episodes since that? And you're like 3?
That was episode 8, and this is episode 12. So it technically hasn't been that long.
But we have taken down some shit since then.
No, it is approaching, and level 5 is a huge level.
That's why I ask, because some really cool stuff shows up at level 5 that I'm very excited for.
I can't wait to watch Flowerkraut split her fart into 2 beams.
Oh my god!
You can target 2 things with your elderly blast at that point.
She's fart bending. She's beginning to believe.
Oh my god!
And I think I have that one.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
I really hope that picks up on the recording.
Oh my gosh. So I think, and this is completely up to you, it's your soundboard, but if you're able to cut that as he's beginning to leave, that would also be really funny.
That would be really funny, yeah. Like as like you're playing, like if I was playing Rocket League for say and someone rage quits and I just play that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for creating such an awesome battle.
Yeah, that was
thanks.
super unique. That was really fun.
I'll be honest, at the beginning I was really nervous because I was like, I don't know what to do.
Oh, same.
Because I was like, wait, no hit thing, everyone busy, what? So I do like that. I feel like I did the best thing that Sherman could think of was, get it clean. We gotta get it clean.
I think what makes for a fun encounter is to give the mechanics behind it as like options and then leave it open-ended for everybody else to do whatever they want, because there's all kinds of stuff that at your disposal. You guys have spells and all kinds of things you can do, but then kind of lay out, this is the goal. You guys want to keep going as fast as you can. You want to avoid this. You're trying to escape. You're not trying to fight this thing, because if anything, you guys have seen in the past that Fracken is incredibly powerful, but it isn't. It's not just gonna be some boring. Okay, roll. Okay, you're faster. Okay, it's catching up. Okay, it's faster. I know it kind of seemed like that at first, but then more stuff comes into it, and I think it turns into not just an encounter, but like a game. That you guys are trying to play to.
It was almost like inventory management. Like you can't just worry about the conflict. You have to worry about all the things that are interacting in said conflict, and that was the ship, all of the NPCs, what we were doing, and then all the different forces that were raging against us, nature, the other ship, and then of course the monsters. So there was a lot of different things all at play, and kudos to you for kind of layering all that together and making it cohesive and still like really snappy with combat. So bravo, sir.
Yeah, it was very balanced.
And Chad, it kind of felt like a D&D version of a Star Wars ship battle.
It really did. Yeah, that's what I got the vibes, because like there was the one time you guys were leaving the atmosphere and there was a Star Destroyer there. And like you couldn't leave because it was basically jamming your system, but there was no way you guys were going to be able to take it on. So you targeted its like one of its satellites or one of its arrays and basically took it out, thus giving your ship the ability to actually jump into hyperspace or light speed. So that was fun, because I didn't like lay that out for you guys. You're just like, what do we do? And that's kind of where we were at the beginning of this. Like, what do we do? And the only reason I felt like I was okay the first few turns, because like every time we get into conflict, I'm just like buff. But if I was in a situation similar to Sherman, I would have also been like, what can I do to be helpful in this scenario? So Dustin, I totally get it, because that I would have been just as flustered in your position.
I'll say I'm so glad you gave me the Sherman snack, because if I didn't have those extra 17 hit points, I would have been one hit knocked down to almost to like what, 14? No, I would have been knocked down to 12. It was 28 damage.
You were feared, so it did more damage to you. Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what it. That's what it was. Is the being frightened caused the additional damage.
That was brutal.
I felt as far as for the ship battle, the sea battle, and everything. I know the kind of games, Aaron, that you play, and I feel like this was an amazing translation of Sea of Thieves into a D&D setting.
Yeah, you got me.
You had, of course I did. But you have the Kraken being your, oh shit, there's a Megalodon. Let's go ahead and I don't know if we want to get away or fight it or what's going on. And then you turn around and there's a freaking Reaper or Ghost Ship, whatever it's called. And you get stuck in between the two of them and you're like, what am I going to do? And you go hard right. And then it's like, oh, that's the world's smallest island. Great.
Yeah, a lot of inspiration from that. I won't lie. The mechanics behind like having people on the sails, that's important. I'm no sailor, but I've played enough Sea of Thieves, and even though that's a cartoonized version of sailing, I thought it translated well into a D&D game. So it was fun.
Yeah, I really liked that. It made me. I was like, I know these words, but I don't remember which is which. Which one is the right side?
There is an actual Kraken in Sea of Thieves that can stop your ship, and it does. It literally you sail into a pool of ink, and all the tentacles rise out of the water, and the way you battle it is you have to shoot the tentacles with your cannons and survive long enough because your ship slows to this crawl to get out of its range. So that was a little bit of inspiring to it. And every once in a while, the Kraken will wrap a tentacle around your ship, and you have to get your sword out and cut it and hit it as much as you can until you can get it to release your ship. And
see, I'm such a nerd for mythical sea creatures that I would purposefully try and find one of those just to see the encounter. So I'm going to be looking up stuff on YouTube tonight.
Yeah,
me too.
Check it out.
Or I'm going to see if Joe can find it when he plays. Because he's a Sea of Thieves nerd too.
Oh, it's such a fun game.
I remember being a kid going to Disneyland and constantly asking if we could ride the what was the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride, because the ending is with a giant squid. And I thought it was, as a kid, I'm like, that's literally the coolest thing that'll ever happen ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I missed that ride.
Yeah,
I like the replacement. Obviously, it's more contemporary with Finding Nemo, but my heart will always remember 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Well, should we wrap this one up, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
all
just
right.
not in tentacles, preferably.
In tentacles
No,
or
thanks.
a very well crafted flower kraut knot.
There
yes,
you go.
let's use one of those instead.
All
It
right.
would be my pleasure.
Flower kraut's going to open up an Etsy store and have all kinds of crochet and stuff.
It's just knots. It's like, hi, buy a knot from me.
Just buy a knot.
Just get a knot. Get a really good looking knot.
Naughty knots.
Just like
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what it's called.
That's
Naughty
a flower
knots.
kraut business.
yeah.
Hold
Naughty,
on, I have
naughty.
to check my Etsy page. Bear with me while I. She mortars and pestles the Etsy, the Etsy shop.
Flower crotty naughties.
Naughty, naughty.
No, crotty naughties.
Krauty
Oh,
naughty.
okay. I thought you said frothy, and I was like,
Gross.
what?
Leave. Jump off the
I'm
ship,
going to.
Sherman.
I'm
He's
about
beginning to leave.
He's beginning to leave.
He's beginning to leave.
All right, we got to end on that note.
All right.
All
Timothy,
right,
take us out.
Oh. A 3-hour tour. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to our Song of Rest. If you like the adventures your ears just wit on, feel free to listen in on our other adventures from any plane of existence or seeing stone you get your podcasts. Until we meet again, safe journeys, travelers.
What's up, BB Army? Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode of Break, Battle, and Roll. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making it. If you can't get enough of Break, Battle, and Roll, be sure to follow our Instagram and Twitter, both at Break, Battle, Roll, or swing by and like the Break, Battle, and Roll Facebook page, where you can mingle with us and other members of the BB Army in between episodes. If you want to keep up with our cast, you can find Chad Stafford on his Instagram and Twitter at It's Chit Chad, as well as his YouTube pages, Chit Chad and Chit Chad Plays. Aaron Rollins on Twitter is at AARKUMA, that's Arkuma. Janelle Wilkie on Instagram at janelle.wilkie, that's JANELLE.WILKE. And me, Dustin. Catch me on twitch.tv/thefinaldestination, Instagram and TikTok as at @the_final_destination, and on Twitter at FINL Destination, because Twitter likes short names. We'd like to give a special thank you to our musicians Ben Holland for creating our absolutely shredding theme song. You can find Ben on SoundCloud, and Rory O'Neill for his phenomenal background compositions. You can find Rory as at Trench Roar Fair on Twitter. Gotta love that pun. We'd also like to give a shout out to what we would call our sister podcast, the Roaring D20s podcast. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter at RD20s podcast. That's RD, the number 2, the number 0, S podcast. Lastly, if you want to support the show, the best way you can help us right now is to spread the word. Do you have a friend who likes D&D or is way into podcasts? Send them our way. On top of that, the great Googly Moogly has told us that ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts will help share our adventures with more listeners. Again, thank you all so much for listening. Now, where was that delicious fish smell coming from? Uh-oh. Later, BB Army. I've got to get Sherman before he gets into Flowerkraut's mortar and pestle bag again. We will see you all in the next episode.